This Apex Legends movement guide is going to take your movement from bodish and slow.
3, 2, 1, go!
To goated and pro. With this Apex Legends movement guide, I'm going to be showing you guys on controller, but this is going to benefit anyone who plays the game. Thank you for stopping in, and let's get into this video. So first off, in order to get the best movement, we're going to want to talk controller button layout, and Apex makes it really easy for you to customize your button layout. This makes it very simple for you to be able to have your right thumb on your right thumbstick at all times. You want to be able to jump and look around. You want to be able to do all these movement techniques while still having your right thumb on that analog. Now me, I use an Xbox Elite controller. You could use just a simple regular controller or a scuff or any of those controllers with paddles. I just prefer the Xbox Elite, and I use 3 paddles. I use 1 paddle for crouch, 1 paddle for jump, and then I also use a 3rd paddle for interact. So first off, with the basics, if you have your weapon out, you have a 13% movement penalty. So what you want to do in order to achieve the fastest speed in Apex, you want to have your weapon holstered and you want to slide jump. So if you're running in Apex without slide jumping, the max velocity you will achieve is 290 units, but if you slide jump, you will reach up to 440 units of speed and velocity. So it's really easy, guys. Once you hit your max speed, you just slide and then jump right after your slide. Slide and jump. So the next movement technique that we're going to talk about is the standing slide. In Apex Legends, you do not need to be running full speed in order to slide and get velocity and get momentum. So all you're going to do, if you are fighting this opponent straight in front of you, you are still able to jump and then slide and gain velocity. You're going to be a much more difficult target to hit when you pull off this technique. A lot of times this can be useful, say if you're trying to buy time. Say you need to reload, you jump, you slide, and you have momentum, and then you can follow up on that target. So say you have an opponent right here in this corner, you can even pair this stand slide with something like a wall climb. So if you climb onto the wall, you can jump off of it and then slide and gain momentum that way. So all you would do is you just wall climb, jump. The next technique we're going to talk about is the mantle slide. So when you climb up, when you mantle on something, and you're trying to move, you're going to have a decrease in momentum. With Apex Legends, once you get to the top after mantling, you have a split second where you can slide and then you can gain momentum. So you can climb up, slide, and you can gain momentum that way. This is very useful for targets you're trying to push, or just even times when you're trying to be aggressive and move about the map quickly. You really have to time it right. Up, slide, climb up, and then immediately slide. Next up, we'll cover the bunny hop, and we can't necessarily do this as well as mouse and keyboard players. They can heal a little bit better with this, but you can still heal and do this, and it's going to give you a little more momentum and a little more distance when you're trying to get away and get to cover. You can use this when you're trying to heal. You can also use this trying to be aggressive to push enemies so you do not lose your momentum and so your weapon is still out. In order to perform the bunny hop, you simply hold down the crouch button. So for me, it's my right paddle, and then all you have to do is press A as soon as you make contact and continue to hit A as soon as you're making contact with the ground. You can also use your right analog stick to kind of control your direction of your bounce. Next up, we have the wall jump or the wall bounce, and what you're going to want to do with this technique is slide into the wall, and then once you make contact with the wall, you're going to want to be facing the wall or facing the object you're using. You want to stop movement with your left analog, and then you want to spam the jump button. Right after you spam the jump button, turn your right thumbstick where you want to go, and that will send you the direction that you are wanting to travel. So the best tip with wall jumping is eliminating the mantle animation. When you mantle, it takes a long time and you're a very easy target to hit. It takes a long time for you to get up over this fence if you simply climb it. What you can do is you can wall bounce and climb that fence. So what I'm doing is I'm sliding into it, I'm pressing my jump button, and I'm using my left analog to move it forward towards the wall so that once I hit that bounce, I can climb right over the fence. You can also wall bounce over anything in the game. It doesn't need to be a wall. As long as you're able to mantle on something, you can wall bounce or wall jump off of it. So I do hear a lot of people say that wall jumping is not really something that you need to implement into your game, that it's too flashy, it's all about style points, and it is, I mean, it does look really nice, but wall jumping is very effective. Say you're getting chased by a target here, and you need to turn around and fire back at them. Instead of just simply turning around and shooting, you can utilize walls and objects to your advantage to turn around quickly on them, being a much more difficult target, and following through with shots. Another time I find wall bouncing very effective is if, a target is right here. They know your position. They know you're coming around that corner. You can be a very difficult target if you wall bounce towards that shot. So it'll look something like this. So next up, we're going to call this the grind technique, and the grind technique is really simple. If anybody skateboards, it's simply just sliding on top of an object as you're moving around. So if you weren't going to use this technique, you're just going to jump over top. But what you can do, you can time that slide right when you hit that object, and what that's going to do, that's going to gain you a lot of momentum and speed. Another thing with the grind technique is that you can grind right at the edge of an object, and that's going to gain you more speed than, say, a normal slide. So right here, I paired the mount technique with the slide, and then at the end, I grind on the edge, and that way I can be a quicker moving target. So you can even pair that slide at the end here with a jump to get you a little bit extra distance as well. So mount, slide, and then slide jump right here, gain more momentum, and then we can kind of go into some other techniques like bunny hops, etc. Another thing that you can do, a small tip, is if you're chasing a target off of somewhere up pretty high, you're going to take fall stun. So once you land, unless you're horizon, you're going to have that stunned mobility. You're not going to be able to follow up as quickly. One thing you can do is you can kick an object on your way down, and then you're not going to have that fall stun. I don't necessarily know what to call this technique. It's just the head down strafe is what I'll call it. What you're going to do is once your mag is lowered and you're waiting for your mag to finish, we're going left, right with our head down. Really simple combat technique. It's just making you a much smaller target here as you're waiting kind of for that weapon to reload. So next we'll talk about crouch spamming. Crouch spamming is the most effective technique to use when you're in that 1v1 scenario, and when you're caught out in the open, it's kind of a last resort thing. As we're changing directions, we're going to spam the crouch button. So here is what your character model looks like when you are utilizing crouch spam. So like before, like I said, when I'm changing directions, a lot of times I hit the crouch button, and that makes me a much smaller target, but still I'm very fast and hard to hit. Here's what the legend model looks like while you're wall bouncing, if you guys were wondering, and just how much more of a difficult target you would be hit wall bouncing that shot versus coming around the corner and firing. Here's our mantle up and slide technique. You can see how much speed I'm gaining. You also have the wall bounce to jump over. So next we're going to talk about some zipline techniques that are really good, especially if you're Pathfinder. With a horizontal zipline like this one, a lot of people know about, you can grab it and jump. But what you can do, I don't see a lot of controller players doing, is you can grab and you can get a super bounce from this. So all you have to do is hit X and hit A twice. And what that's going to do, you're going to be such a difficult target to hit. It's going to be so unexpected. Maybe you need to reload your weapon. You just jump up, and then you can follow up that way. There are also tons of buildings, even in Kings Canyon as well, where you can utilize this method to get on top of the roof without having to climb up the building. Maybe you're fighting a target right here and you need to reload. You can just simply hit X and A twice, and you're going to be a really unpredictable target to hit. You can also utilize this method with the vertical zipline as well. As you can see here, this is me just hitting A once. You can see the distance that I'm getting. If I hit A twice, I get much more height, much more distance. You can utilize this especially in places like Market on Kings Canyon. Say you have a peacekeeper and you need to kind of close that distance, close the gap with a player. You know, you can get a lot closer with this technique. Just X and then double tap A, and you're going to go super far with that super jump. So next up, we have the hardest movement technique in the game. You know, say there's an enemy at the top of the zip line and you need to be creative to kind of gain height against them. Or say you might have a target behind you right here. This technique is kind of what Dizzy used to do with zip lines, being a very difficult target to hit. They did nerf zip lines though, so you can only grab the zip line 3 times before falling off, so you just have to use it sparingly, and this is the most difficult movement technique in the entire game. So I'm interacting with the rope with the X button, and then I'm spamming my jump button. So look up, interact, turn, grab a hold, and then you can follow up with that target and shoot them right here. You're going to be super, super hard to hit. And you can even do it 3 times. It's really, really difficult though. So that was utilizing it 3 times. I'm not the best at pulling off this method in game. I'm still working, still practicing each and every day. But you know what? Maybe you guys can learn from this and you guys can utilize this technique, start practicing it, and start working it into your gameplay as well. So last but not least, we are going to talk about how to loot and still move on controller. And there are 3 different ways to pull off this technique. The first technique is to simply run at the box. It's really important to keep your right thumb on that analog so you can continue to look at the box, and then you press your interact button while you're still sprinting. It also helps if you have auto sprint on for this first method. The second method is extremely important for armor swaps. This is going to be really crucial for you to have that interact button where you can access that and still have access to your right thumbstick so you can look at the box while you are in midair. With both of these clips, I'm jumping and I'm quickly grabbing the armor swap. Make sure that your analog speed, your cursor speed is pretty high so that you can make this swap in midair, and it's going to be very beneficial in fights. Last but not least, the third method. This is how you move inside once you are in a death box. I was inspired by the GOAT himself, Snipe Down. He picked up a pair of 3 pedals that you can utilize in your game today. I can have the link in the description below so that you guys can check these out on Amazon. They're pretty cheap. And what you can do with these pedals is you can bind the left one with A and the right one with D. And then I have the middle paired with R. That way I can reload if I'm facing a door without opening the door. Or I can reload while I have a down squad mate right in front of me without having to revive that down squad mate. Now, I'm not a professional player. I don't know if this technique is going to be allowed in competitive play, but I just play for fun and to compete with the best players in the world on PC. So this is just something little that I'm really excited to add to my gameplay, and you guys can too. So everyone, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much. I hope you learned some things about movement in our guide today. Make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to have plenty of Apex Legends content. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. I'm so close to reaching that goal, and I can't thank you guys enough. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Grizzy, and I'm out.